Hey there, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. So today I did a scan for just some stocks that are in new uptrends. So basically I use these guys over here and they have all these tools. So I just been using them a long time. So sort of force a habit, but I do every now and then I want to scan. And so I'm just kind of scanning things and looking for stuff that may, be in a new uptrend or something that's kind of basing. So just kind of, just go through. So the first one that hits up is Booz Allen Hamilton. I don't see anything here. I mean, look, really strong week over here, but this has gone nowhere. So really volatile and everything like that. Weekly chart. I'm looking at the weekly to start. This is interesting. BJ's wholesaler. Look, this thing had come down, broken below. It's so the red one is the important. That's the 50-week moving average, aka kind of like the 200-day moving average. And so what you see there is it was kind of like starting to break down like everything else, but man, it just had a really strong week here on really strong volume, got back above the averages. So that's kind of interesting there. And yes, and this is not financial advice. This is just stuff that, just looking at, like, especially not financial advice. Cheetah Mobile, 70 cents. Well, look at that thing. What does that thing look like? Yeah. So that's a downtrending, really problematic. Elf Beauty, this one popped back up. Another strong week. I don't know why it had a strong week, but it did. This one here, let's see. A lot of downtrend, but so there is some things here and there that are having some big weeks. A lot of downtrend, like Hamilton Beach here. You can see downtrend, but a really strong week and 25% move. I don't know, maybe they're getting bought out, something like that. I don't know. You would need to check on it. MD, yeah, nothing there. So at some point, you're going to do a scan for things like this, looking for bases, and you're going to try to figure that out. And you're just going to see stuff going on all the time. Now, hey, this is NL Industries. Now, whatever the heck this thing is at, its 52-week high at least. So this one has never been in a downtrend, never been infected by it. But it's a sub $10 stock. So it's not a great one. Noah Holdings, crap kicked out of it, but really strong 26% move on the week. Man, really big moves. Now these are not really good moves, because these are just, they're so huge. I mean, I don't know what's going on, short squeeze or something with all these. This is interesting. UPath, interesting. IPO'd recently, right? A little over a year ago at IPO and been going downhill ever since. Let's zoom in on this guy a little bit. And you can see that, yeah, it's kind of trying to put in a base. The kind of cool thing, the positive thing, if you were to look at this, is that, hey, you would come up, you had this, and you kind of just popped out above that high. So that's positive for that stock there. This healthcare company, this one, had pulled back, but look, very strong, and it's above all the important moving averages again. So that's kind of interesting. This one downtrend, but popping above the moving averages. This one, another strong week, 16% move. Performance Food Group, Polaris Industries. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. Just really strong week here. But this one, if that's the Polaris, I think it is the one that makes all of like the quads and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that stuff is, going to potentially hurt, for sure. Basically we're going into recession, and so that's just the way it is. And so we got to go through it first. We got to get into it and then go through it before we start picking up the pieces on the other side. This is an interesting one. Select Quote. I think isn't that an insurance company? That's kind of interesting. Now this thing it just hit the floor, but let's kind of zoom in on that and see what's going on. Yeah, huge gap down. I assume it was on earnings, but what's interesting is it's kind of putting in basing here. So this is really, huge gap for it to get through that. There's so much work required to get through that thing, but it is kind of interesting that you have, here's your resistance, all around the 3. So somewhere between 3 and 350, and it's really pushing up at it again. And it had a little extra volume. So, that's kind of interesting there. But, all this stuff is, it's probably shorts trying to cover and stuff. Now, this is an interesting Stonemore. I don't know what the deal is with this. Look at the solid up and then kind of the tight action. I don't know. You'd have to check, not financial advice, probably a buyout. Once they go, normally when they have a big jump, it's usually like, okay, someone buying them out. And then the remaining action is just arbitrage. And then it can get volatile if you have like the Twitter thing going on where there may be some speculation as to it might not go through, etc. Interesting. Dragon Fund. Isn't that the one George Gamma talks about all the time? The Dragon portfolio. I wonder if, and I do not know, but I wonder if this is a fund set up to kind of do that. But what's interesting here is you see how you have this kind of like double bottom, bigger double bottom. You kind of just recently broke out of that. You're at 14, which you're right on the cusp of this area here. So if you're able to break out of that 14, you can start putting things up. And notice how the faster average is starting to turn back up. So that's kind of interesting. So that's something where maybe it's starting to turn. Thor Industries, okay. Tootsie Roll, man, this thing's like, wow. It's kind of funny in 2021. It just did all that stuff. What is up with that? I don't know. I don't even know, but it had a strong week for whatever reason. But look, there's no trend. It's not going to go anywhere. I mean, Tootsie Roll is a dying business, right? I mean, people don't eat much of that stuff anymore. So you were saying Asana Health Services, Yeti. What is that? Is that the one that makes those? I don't know. Kind of like, isn't that the one that they make kind of like drinking containers and stuff like that? I don't know if that's the same one, but this one, kind of interesting, right? So here's you have your W. You had a W forming on the daily chart. It's just peaking out of the resistance of the center of the W. So, and it's peaking out above the 50-day moving average. So it's kind of working on it, but it's got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of resistance here at the 55 range. So, but that's something to kind of keep an eye on, if you're looking at stuff breaking out. So just like the way it's going to work is usually like there will be stocks that will come out and they will like lead. There'll be early breakouts at some point. Like look, I don't think we're even halfway done with the decline, but at some point we'll be switching to a point where like everyone's negative, everyone's selling, we're in a recession, and everyone will be gloomy. And somewhere in there, something will start breaking out, and you'll be looking at it and you're starting to see these early moves of breakouts on something. And I don't know exactly where it would come out. And that's where maybe like scanning and stuff can help, try to figure out and just kind of look at the charts. Okay, something's breaking out. And so we made it all the way back around again on that guy. And so that's what I see there. So I don't know. There's not a lot going on here. If we look at our USO, yeah, the oil's come off and it's kind of just kind of consolidating at that point. Let's look at the 10-year, see what that guy did. Yeah, it kind of came off a little bit. Dollar milkshake came off a little bit. SPY. I mean, we had, pretty large bar on the SPY up 3%. So, it's like, it's just not a big deal, right? It's just not a big deal on the SPY. Yeah, we had a 3% up day. And I know and I do like the like Investors Daily IBD stuff. I do use them, and I do like their stuff, but I think very often you get kind of lost on picking the follow through day and stuff like that on the volume and it's, and that kind of thing. And so I'm not really a big fan of that particular item of, the follow through day and all that. So I don't know if this would be a follow through day. I don't think so. It has certainly the percentage, but it would also need the volume. And I don't know if it meets that, but it's in the big picture, it's just nothing. It's just, it's just moves, you're just way oversold, you're just way oversold here, and it's just going to pop up and go up. But, you're going into these, huge gaps that you got to work your way through here. You have a bunch of resistance over here. I mean, this is the kind of exactly how a bear market will get you. I mean, conceptually, we could have like another couple super duper rally and still never break out. But this is how they really screw you in these things. What ends up happening is it really starts catching momentum, and people start, and it'll break out. And then people start thinking like, oh, it's really good. And then it will just return to its previous trend and go to new lows. Because I just don't think it's done yet. I mean, so what is going to be the determining thing, like what is going to finally kind of turn the market around. Well, we have to go through the tightening cycle. So we're just on the tightening cycle. We're just in the early phases of the tightening cycle. And so we're not there yet. And so the way it would work, I would suspect, is that the market at some point, the Fed will either inflation will back off or it will get disinflation, which is means we'll have, inflation, we'll still have inflation, but if it's below 8% and it's kind of getting down somewhere in the 5-6%, maybe in somewhere in there, then it would be like, okay, the Fed won't raise as much, et cetera, et cetera. And then so at that point, something somewhere will start kind of popping out. And you can see here, like I've seen in some of these, like Tesla and other ones, you kind of have this potential double bottom. You've held the recent lows and you're coming back up, and you're right at the point where maybe you could break to new highs, not to new highs, but you could break out of the recent high here. So we see that in some stuff. So, but in the big picture, and we see this here at Tesla too, not so much, but it's held that recent low. But the problem is, it's always wise to just go to the big picture. And the big picture doesn't mean anything at this point. I mean, it could turn into something. So here you are. And see, this is kind of where your resistance is at this 775, 800. If we're able to kind of work our way up through there, then you could maybe start going. And then what would be interesting about that is then you would have had a correction pattern that would have been like a W pattern. And this would be, I think, a more classic kind of IBD type of W. They have the Ws. My understanding is that what they like is they like a W that comes down, comes up, and it actually undercuts. So this is the undercut over here. And then if it's able to come back up and break through, and the key is right here, this thing here, if it can break through the middle, it doesn't even matter what the pattern looks like. But the thing is, if you break through that middle, then you're off, you're possibly off to the races again. But see, the thing is, that would be on the weekly chart. So you got a long way to go, because right now, where are we? We're only dealing with the daily chart here. We're in this micro consolidation period down here. So I think that's it for this one. Talk to you later. Bye.